This is in the locker room. This is before the game ended. Before the game ended. She comes out in the locker room and posts this. Like, what are we doing?
Sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, is anybody on this team going to stand up for Caitlin Clark? JC Sheldon grabbing Caitlin Clark all game, clawing at her. It's like tonight was a brawl, folks. Tonight was a brawl. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, is anybody on this team going to stand up for... And Sophie Cunningham.
You're not prepared for this level of spicy drama because when Sophie Cunningham lost it, she didn't just clap back. Instead, she went full Avengers mode on the entire Sun team. Buckle up, this one is hotter than Angel Reese's Twitter feed. What happens when Sophie turns into a one-woman wrecking crew and bodyguards Caitlin Clark like it's her sworn WNBA mission? Oh, just a complete meltdown on the court chaos in the Sun locker room and Sophie handing out smoke like it's buy one, get one free.
And let's start with the play that set off the entire night. So as you guys can see here, JC Sheldon is guarding Caitlin Clark. She swipes her in the eyeball. Caitlin Clark nudges her off because JC stays in her face. And then Tina Charles runs over and is kind of wagging her finger in Caitlin Clark's face. And then Marina Mabrey comes out of nowhere and chucks her to the floor. Now let's watch this in slow motion. Here, JC Sheldon is guarding Caitlin, swipes her in the face. There's one. Going for the ball, swipes her in the eyeball. Caitlin's gonna have to start wearing goggles. And then Caitlin pushes her off of her, like, why are you still in my face? Marina Mabrey, bat out of hell, chucks Caitlin Clark.
Since Sophie Cunningham didn't show up to hoop, but rather to handle business, by which we mean personally escorting Caitlin Clark out of every low-key ambush and cheap shot like she was protecting a royal jewel in a street fight. The WNBA as a whole ought to have obtained insurance the moment she clocked in for her shift.
Welcome to WNBA Fight Night, or as some people are saying, WNBA Raw. What a game that was. We had it all. We had basketball, we had fighting, we had blonde on blonde crime. Oh, such an epic. Oh, goodness. But at the end of the day, it resulted in an Indiana Fever W. 88-71, taking care of business.
After the whistle blows, you bump Clark, congratulations. You've unleashed the full force of a professional enforcer with a jump shot and no consideration for your safety. Forget teammates, Sophia is moving like a Secret Service agent who doubles as a demolition crew. You try to elbow Caitlin Boom, and Sophia teleports in like a WWE Tajin, ready to destroy your shoe deal and your dental alignment in one move.
Let's start here. This is, of course, Sophie and Sheldon going down the floor. Sophie tries to wrap her up, and Sheldon gets to the floor, and all hell breaks loose. And Sophie said, I'm not having it. I'm not having it. We'll go. We'll go. So there's that. That, of course, was all a byproduct of this right here, folks. And I mean, when I tell you social media is setting the WNBA on fire right now, not in a good way, that's the understatement.
The court becomes her courtroom. She is rendering decisions rather than asking questions, and the punishment is always the same maximum pressure. It's domination by proxy, not protection. Sophie is an expert at using body language that makes even the most aggressive veterans hesitate before approaching the edge, such as the soul-snatching look, the try me body language, and the well-timed shoulder check.
Of course, Marina Mabrey is going to get ejected because that was unwarranted. She literally came out of nowhere and chucked Caitlin Clark. There should be a flagrant one, of course, on JC Sheldon because she swiped her and hit her in the eyeball. Whether it is intentional or not, you can still have a flagrant a flagrant foul called on you, whether you are trying to intentionally hurt somebody or not. But this is what they called, you guys. This is what they called. Caitlin Clark, Marina Mabrey, Tina Charles were assessed with technical fouls on Tuesday. Caitlin, Marina, and Tina Charles. Technical fouls. That's it. Technical fouls. That's it. And JC Sheldon was assessed with a flagrant 1 foul, and no players were ejected.
She expects the drama as if she's been reading the other team's group chat all week, and if there's even the slightest hint of animosity, she's already incoming. Sophie Cunningham is not available for hugs after the game. She is operating on a single frequency, touch Clark and you touch death, and isn't holding hands during warm-ups or tapping it up during shoot-arounds. She is the WNBA's walking alarm system, always on high alert while others engage in team-building activities and mindfulness. Sophie is out there using her eyes to perform discreet background checks. If she notices anything fishy about Clark, you might as well contact a doctor. This level of steadfast devotion combined with nuclear ferocity is unfamiliar to the league. Instead of entering games with a Zen song and an inspirational saying, she's charging into arenas as if she's looking for a reason to start the mayhem. Her very presence is enough to cause teammates to silently thank the basketball gods that she is on their side and sideline reporters to squirm uneasily. This is instinctive. It's not energy that you teach. This kind of erratic dedication hasn't been seen in the league since the days when defenders had complete access and played like bouncers. Cunningham has taken that tradition, given it a new twist, and added a reluctance to put up with even the slightest hint of disrespect.
I feel good, and Sophie Cunningham put me out on a high note, folks. I didn't even say, Ben, calm down. Calm down, regroup. I didn't even say that. Let's get straight to the play. Everybody, the plays everybody is talking about. First off, Marina Mabrey body checking Caitlin Clark to the ground. JC Sheldon all over her. Riding her. Pokes Caitlin Clark in the eye. Oh, man. Caitlin Clark needs to start wearing goggles, folks. Caitlin Clark's going to need to start wearing goggles. Bumps up on Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark says, "Get your hands off me." And then here comes Marina Mabrey. Boom! Exploding Caitlin Clark like a safety coming downhill in the NFL. There was no flop there.
This kind of unrepentant ride-or-die enthusiasm hasn't been seen in the WNBA in years. It's akin to Dennis Rodman with a female boss twist and a long-standing resentment of passive aggressiveness. Let's get real. Caitlin Clark entered the WNBA with a goal so large it likely constitutes its own zip code. Cunningham doesn't simply show there. She throws herself into the middle of the storm and challenges it to blow harder. The rookie with the golden range was the enemy of the month every month, not just by the defense, with entire rosters around her as if it were open season. Players gathered not to test her skill but to try to break her spirit. However, Sophie Cunningham was watching every move like a hawk that skipped brunch and was ready to feast. Some brought their game faces, while others brought petty grudges, old rivalries, and unresolved issues that had nothing to do with her, but were unloaded anyway.
About a minute and a half into recording this reaction earlier, with 1 minute left, and all hell broke loose between JC Sheldon and Sophie Cunningham, and it is very clear the Indiana Fever, some of these girls on this team are finally fed up. Once again, WNBA, we're not talking about your basketball. We're talking about the WNBA WWE Raw circus that you got going on right now. And we all know this incident with Sophie stems from the incident that was clearly not handled correctly by the WNBA and the referees.
Sophie became the storm chaser with a steel spine and a memory sharper than her crossover, while Caitlin dealt with the chaos of being the headliner. They underestimated how quickly one woman could create an entire no-go zone around her teammate, turning every threat into an opportunity for demolition. This wasn't about stat sheets. It wasn't about highlights. It was about making sure Clark didn't have to wince every time someone ended up with a loose elbow. So, while the league planned, strategized, and whispered, Sophie strapped on symbolic brass knuckles and made sure no one forgot. This rookie might be the future, but her present is heavily guarded. But guess what the league didn't realize is that Sophie wasn't walking in alone. Instead, she had Sophie, and Sophie's not a bodyguard who walks you to your car and calls it a day. Sophie's a bodyguard who dismantles the parking lot, flips the car, and then personally handcuffs anyone who even blinks during the exit because every shove Caitlyn receives causes Sophie to have a spiritual awakening, and it's always on TV.
All right, enough is enough. You know, at some point, the line gets crossed too often where something needs to be done and things need to be corrected. And that is certainly the case with the way things around Caitlin Clark are officiated. This is a constant problem now. You know, it is something that since the beginning, I've kind of backed off on because physical play is a part of sports. You know, going after a superstar and trying to rough them up a little bit to get in their head is a part of sports. But when it crosses the line, the referees need to do their job.
When the Second Son players tried to get nasty with their hard fouls and cunning screens, Sophie went full medieval, with no hesitations, no excuses, just pure primal basketball vengeance wrapped in a ponytail and a death stare. She didn't even blink before putting herself between Caitlyn and danger as if she had been waiting her entire life to go full Terminator. And look, Sophie isn't acting. She's not putting on a performance. This isn't staged. She's genuinely not here for anyone's "we play tough defense" justifications while their teammate is busy trying to turn Clark into a chiropractic patient. If you have bad intentions for Caitlin Clark, Sophie is already 10 steps ahead with a legally dubious screen and enough intensity to get fined retroactively. It's not even about basketball anymore, Sophie. She is currently engaged in active deterrence. You know that scene in a game where a player approaches Caitlyn with that arrogant body language as though they're about to say something? Sophie notices it before the cameras do, and then they abruptly start moving to the bench. They have no idea why. It's just a survival instinct.